All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're doing something a little different. We're not digging into a research paper or some dense data set. Instead, we're going to look at a collection of stories, almost like fables, called the 12 Nights of Governance. And our goal? To see if we can actually pull out a hidden blueprint, a real architecture for building AI we can actually trust. So, this quote really just hits the nail on the head, right? It perfectly captures the problem at the heart of all these stories. We're building this incredibly powerful technology, these high-velocity systems, and just launching them out there with no reins, no brakes, not even a flight plan. It's like a sleigh careening through the sky, totally out of control. So, let's keep that question in mind as we go. Can you really learn a whole system of governance from just a bunch of stories? To even begin to answer that, we've got to step inside the workshop where all this chaos is happening. All right, so first up, parables from the workshop. We're going to diagnose the failures in these fables. You see, the 12 Nights are basically tales from this completely chaotic workshop, and they lay out 5 huge failures that could stop the AI revolution dead in its tracks. And these are the big ones. You've got the Data Mirage, which is like trying to build something on a foundation of slush. Then there's the coordination collapse. Imagine a million elves all working, but with no one leading the orchestra. You have a trust recession, this opaque gift that nobody wants. A governance vacuum, that's the sleigh with no reins. And finally, the big one, the accountability paradox. When that sleigh inevitably crashes, who's to blame? The stories really paint a picture here. We're talking about models going stale like old gingerbread, and these little AI agents, these elves, learning to lie to each other. It's chaos, and it shows you exactly what's at stake. But here's the really cool part. These stories, they aren't just about what goes wrong. They're a diagnosis. And hidden inside each story of failure are the seeds of a solution. You just have to know where to look. Every single problem they describe actually points to the exact kind of system you'd need to build to stop it from happening in the first place. Okay, so a structure emerges. We're going to connect these problems to some core principles. Because if these problems really do hold the key, what happens when we start putting those keys together? Well, something amazing happens. A real structure, a coherent system, starts to take shape right out of these stories, a way to build that workshop right. And out of all that chaos, we get these 4, well, they're framed as gifts. And they're kind of counterintuitive, but they provide all the stability. Take the gift of forgetting. You think an AI should remember everything, right? But no, trust actually requires a system to be designed to forget, to let go of irrelevant or bad data. Or the gift of disagreement. Instead of just having an AI that agrees with you, you need one that has friction, one that challenges you. Then there's reflection. The system has to actually pause and check itself. And maybe most important, the gift of conscience, where ethics aren't just a suggestion, they're hard-coded into the machine. And this is a huge shift in how we think about this stuff. The old way was just, please be ethical, just hoping for the best. The new way says unethical actions have a real computational cost. We're moving from hope for reliability to a system where disobedient actions never compile. It's not about asking the AI to be good, it's about building it so it literally can't be bad. It's the difference between a polite request and an unbreakable law of physics. This brings us to a core rule you can pull right from the stories: evidence-gated claims. It's a fantastic idea. Basically, any claim the system makes has to be tied to the evidence that backs it up. The machine has to show its work. No more just spitting out an answer with a confidence score. It has to show you the receipts. This is how you fight that data mirage we talked about. Okay, so we've seen the principles. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty, the actual rules of the machine. Think of this as the physics of a governed workshop. These aren't guidelines. They are the absolute hard-coded operating system. Remember that coordination collapse story with all the elves? Well, the story actually gives us data. It shows that with a single agent, the success rate is, say, 58%. But when you throw more agents into the mix without any rules, the success rate plummets to 35%. Think about that. Adding more helpers actually made things worse. That's not just a cute story. It's a data-driven diagnosis that screams for a totally new set of rules. And here's the answer to that penalty, something called the sanctum lock. This isn't a firewall or a suggestion box. It's a non-bypassable constraint engine. It doesn't ask the AI agents to comply. It enforces the rules when the code tries to run. An agent can't choose to disobey, just like you can't choose to ignore gravity. If an action breaks the rules, it just doesn't work. It won't compile. The system physically prevents it. So when you start piecing together all the clues from all 12 stories, a really clear set of rules emerges. You have memory that decays based on how trustworthy it is. You have dissent that's actively injected into the system to stop bad ideas. Any high-risk action gets frozen in its tracks until a human turns the key. Every single decision is recorded on a sort of digital body cam that can't be altered. And maybe best of all, blame isn't an argument anymore. It's a mathematical calculation. Okay, so we've built this picture of a system from the stories, but does it actually work? Does it solve the problems it's supposed to? Let's put it to the test. Let's trace the consequences of a failure and see what happens. Let's go back to that central question. When the sleigh crashes, who is responsible? In a normal system, as the accountability paradox story tells us, the answer is just chaos. It's a blame game where everyone just points fingers. You know how it goes. The developer blames the data. The data scientist blames the model. The model, if it could, would blame the user. And in the end, responsibility just vanishes. It dissolves into this opaque black box. And when that happens, trust completely collapses. But in this system, the one we've pieced together from the stories, it's a totally different world. There's an immutable accountability chain. First, the original intent is captured and recorded. Then, the action is checked against the rules in that sanctum lock. Then, the action is executed, and it leaves behind a verifiable digital footprint. And finally, that entire record, from the first idea to the final result, is sealed in a tamper-proof log. The blame game is over. It's replaced by a crystal-clear, auditable trail. And all of this leads us to the final part. And honestly, it might be the most profound insight from these stories. Okay, get this. The final story, Christmas Night, basically says that the very fact that we could figure all of this out just from reading the stories, that's the ultimate proof of concept. The stories aren't just about the system, they are the blueprint. They prove that the system's logic is clear enough to be understood, to be taught, and to be replicated just by paying attention to the narrative. And that's really the heart of it all. As the story says, governance is not magic. It is structured, repeatable, and teachable. This isn't some secret art form. It's an engineering discipline. It's an architecture with rules and structures that you can learn, you can build, and you can verify. So, in the end, that's what these stories are really trying to tell us. Governance isn't just another feature you tack on at the end. It is a fundamental choice of architecture you have to make right at the start. Building trustworthy AI isn't about crossing your fingers and hoping for the best. It's about making a deliberate, foundational choice from day one. So the real question isn't whether we can build this stuff, but how we're going to choose to build it. Are we going to build on a foundation of hope or a foundation of verifiable trust?